Hey, it's the end of 2023, so I'm putting together a little sequence of a bunch of the shorts videos I put out this year. They're just gonna all run back to back. So if you enjoy this, let me know. If you think it was a waste of time, let me know that too. It's a little experiment here. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks a lot, everybody, for all your support through the years, and I look forward to helping you even more on the Drywall Academy at drywallacademy.com. We'll see you there. Hey, here's a gift idea. If you know somebody who's trying to learn drywall, maybe they're trying to get into the trades, or they're just trying to figure out how to do it around their house, their apartment, etc. I have a new school called Drywall Academy, the Kilted Guy Drywall Academy at drywallacademy.com. I'm the author of the book about drywall tools and materials. It's my goal to help teach you guys and pass on my 40 years of drywall experience. I've got courses available from the simplest to the most complex. If you want to really get into the trades and really go at it as a pro, I'll even teach you how to bid jobs, how to do production work, or I'll teach you the simplest stuff if all you want to do is fix stuff around your house. Check it out at drywallacademy.com. Hey, if you do drywall and you need a place to store your tools, your hand tools and that, this bag right here is really killer. If you're looking for a gift idea for yourself or for your spouse or something, or just a friend, this thing holds all kinds of stuff. It's empty right now, but you can fit pans, knives. It's got all kinds of pockets, zippered pockets, side pockets. It holds a ton. Really durable material. I think this thing is really cool for the job site. I'll put a link to this in the description of this video. Hey, if you got a handy person in your life who likes to dabble in drywall, it can be confusing sometimes picking out which tools and materials you need. That's why I put this book out. This is a paperback version. I've got an ebook also of understanding drywall tools and materials. It gives you all kinds of guidelines, and I'm going to help make it a lot simpler to figure out which tools you need, save you from wasting money on tools you don't need, and the same with the drywall materials. I'm going to simplify it for you, make it a lot easier. You can pick this up on Amazon. Just look up Drywall Tools and Materials book, and it's available as an ebook and a paperback. I'll put a link to it in the description. Hey, if you're a handy person and you occasionally need to spray some texture to fix a wall or something, you know, you got choices like can texture, which mostly these suck. I rarely use those. Or you can get out a hopper. These take a bit of time to learn, and sometimes they're more than you need. Or you can pick up this Easy Pro texture sprayer. With this thing, you attach a bag of texture down below. It's real easy. There's not a lot of adjustments to it, and it's one of the simplest ways to spray a quick texture. It's only for small jobs, but I'll put a link to this in the description of this video. Makes a great gift idea. Empty Arms Hotel. No, actually, this is Guy with that Kilted Guy. I've got a really cool set of skim coating blades here. This to me is the ultimate. This is the level 5 set in a hard case. Comes with this nice hard case. It has 4 sizes of skim coating blades in here. It has the attachment to attach it to a handle. It's an extension handle. And this thing even has a roller, which looks like this. It's the paint roller and this mud roller. This is especially for mud rolling. It's all part of this case. Then you button it up, roll it away on wheels. Nice and sturdy. This is the ultimate skim coating case in case you're doing drywall, you're into drywall, or you got a skim coating project coming up. I'll put a link to this in the description of this video. Hey, if you've ever had a time when you needed a nice straight line, like to hang pictures, hang cabinets, trim work, or putting up shelving, etc., you know it can be a pain to get that line level. You're not running up and down, you're not zigzagging. Pick up one of these. This is the DeVoe laser level. These things are really handy. It shoots out a line here, one down at the bottom, one this way, so it's horizontal and vertical. You can get nice right angles if you're trying to square up a photo, picture frame, etc. Check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description. Makes a handy gift idea. Hey, if you're someone who does very much drywall taping, but you don't do a ton of it, maybe you tape some apartments now and then, or you're remodeling your bedroom, etc. Here's a cool tool. and it's a possible gift idea. This is the Level 5 Drywall Banjo. This is a pretty new product. These are really handy. I've used them a lot. It makes it a lot simpler when you're taping. You just undo this, you put a roll of joint tape in here, you put your mud in here, close it back up, it feeds it out here, cuts it right here. You hold it like this after you reclip it. You can hold it like this or this way. It'll speed up your taping, make it a lot easier. Takes a little practice, but it really helps a lot. I'll put a link to this in the description. Number 1 on the list is hot mud should never be put on in thin coats. By thin, I mean really tight. Like if you were spotting nails and you put it on and wipe it off, that's a thin coat. Another way would be skim coating. If you're doing a tight skim coat, it's a bad idea, and I'll tell you why. The reason is, and this is per the manufacturer, when you put the hot mud on, let's say it's 20-minute hot mud, it actually needs 20 minutes to cure. It actually chemically cures. It's an exothermic chemical reaction that causes it to harden. And if you don't give it 20 minutes to cure, it doesn't form its bonding strength, therefore it doesn't stick as good. So basically, here's the rule. If it air dries before the time on the bag, if it air dries in 10 minutes and it's 20 minutes, it didn't properly cure. It won't have the bonding strength especially. Hey, here's a cool gift idea for the holidays or anytime. This is called the Wallabot. I recently tested this on a video. This is the only stud finder out there that sees through the wall and gives you a video representation on your phone. It shows you a different color and look for wires, pipes, and wood studs. Really handy. It works really well. I'll put a link to this in the description down below this video. Hey, how many times have you fought with a tangled up extension cord? It's a pain sometimes. No matter what you do, they seem to tangle. I got a better solution. I just came across this. This is a, I can't say the name, but it's like I'll put the name on the screen here. This is a retractable cord reel. It's got 3 outlets on it, and all you do is pull it out, get the length you need. You set the ratcheting. When you're done, pull on it again, retract it, and it's so much easier. I'm going to put a link to this in the description of this video. Hey, if you've ever wondered why people are in love with bidets, imagine you got chocolate all over your hand. That's what it is. It's chocolate. Do you really want to get rid of it like that, or are you going to wash it under some water? That's the difference between toilet paper and a bidet. Once you try a bidet, you'll never go back. Trust me. You can flip it over if you're doing their inside one. They have an insert you can take out for bullnose, but otherwise, I just realized I was facing backwards for the camera. Otherwise, it's the same for all the corner bead. There we have it. You can see it's totally coated nice and evenly. Okay, so you can see these rollers are real similar, but this one is made slightly different. Hey, you know how in the caulking tube it says cut the tip at a 45-degree angle? I like doing that, but you know what I don't like is when that 45 turns on me and it's going that way instead of the way I thought, and I put it up to caulk and I squirt in the wrong kind of direction. It kind of messes things up. I'm going to show you a quick tip on how to keep that from happening. What you do, we got a fresh tube of caulking here, so you take and put something like your label straight up on your gun. Then you take your razor knife, you cut it at a 45 from the bottom towards the front. Now all you got to do is glance down. If that label has turned, you know it's not in the straight up 45 spot. You just turn it and you're good to go. Hey, that should save you a little bit of grief, and if you like tips like this about home improvement and drywall tips, be sure and subscribe to my channel. I've got about 885,000 more of them for you. No, I'll see you then. Thanks. but I'm going to make it extra rough here for a reason, to show you how good a wide knife can be. Let's go with a 12. Usually you want one that's wider than the repair area. So we're going to go around and feather those edges. Probably just smack the microphone. Now we got it feathered. I always use the same side, so I put a screw in the back of the knife. But I'm just going to lay that knife down at about a 45 or even closer to where your knuckles are almost dragging in the mud. This knuckle right here would almost be dragging in the mud, but you don't want that to happen or you're going to mess it up. So put it about here, put good pressure where you're actually bending your knife a little bit, pull, and look, we can take that nasty looking mess you guys were making and turn it into that. Hey, I just finished doing a review of the TapeBuddy versus the Banjo. If you want to see how the results came out, you might be surprised. So be sure and subscribe to my channel and click on that bell icon and you'll get to see this video. Number 4, the number on the bag, it says Easy Sand 20. That doesn't mean it's going to set up in 20 minutes necessarily. That's more about your working time, because once it starts setting up, you can't really work with it anymore, and you should not. And hey, if you want to learn more about drywall tools and materials, check out my new book. I'll put a link in the description. And hey, YouTube added a new feature. Watch what happens when you click the subscribe button. Watch your subscribe button. It's going to get animated and be kind of cool. Now, of course, you guys, a lot of you will do it like this, and this is fine. If you do it like this, make sure you put plenty on, and then we're going to go and just kind of lay it down and get it to even out. You can see on the second camera here, it's nice and thick. But the way we do it works the same. It's just faster. If you're going to do much of this, you learn to really load that knife up and just simply, and you notice I did that little flip. That's because it's kind of runny. And if I don't, you can see it's starting to run off my knife. So let me get it loaded back up here. And you see a little drip there. We just run it up the wall or on the joint, whatever you're doing there, and then just lay your knife down pretty far so your knuckles are almost dragging, but you don't want to quite drag your knuckles. And then you just are trying to even it out. So the general rule with spreading mud is the more you stand your knife up, the more you wipe off. The more you lay your knife down, you can push pretty dang hard and it won't wipe off too much of the mud for you. So when you're taping and putting it on, lay your knife down pretty good. Once you get that nice solid coat on there, you just want to put your tape into it. Try and put it on nice and straight. You don't want to get it too wrinkled. You can cut it like I did there. You don't want to have like this crookedness where you see the wrinkles starting to show. And then you generally wipe towards each end. And for this case, you stand it up more, because if you lay it down too much, you're not going to wipe enough out of it. And again, leaving too much on could even cause you a problem, partly because you'd end up with a hump here that you didn't need. So first thing we're going to talk about is, like I said, the mud. Any all-purpose, green label, regular weight, all-purpose. This is the lightweight all-purpose. First step is to make sure the mud is not too thick. That is one problem a lot of you have. It's kind of hard to describe on video, but you can see this is thinned it down a bit. One key is to mix it up really well. But one way that you can do that is mix it right in your pan. If you don't have the big mixer and the bucket and all that, get this little mixer here from Level 5 Tools. You can get it as part of a complete kit with pans, knives, and this little mixer. It's going to feel thicker if you don't mix it up. So that's step number one. Get it reasonably thin. You want it to be pretty thin, but not so thin that you get it off here and it just all runs off your knife and you're having problems with it dripping all over. The other problem, it would be using the wrong mud. Most of the time you're pretty safe. Like I said, any all-purpose will generally work, but you don't want to use a topping mud. And there's some other muds out there, so just stick to all-purpose mud. So that's tip number 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go on to tip number 4, which is wiping it too tight, and I'll show you that here in a second. You can often end up with blisters. Blisters means where there's a void behind the tape, or you wiped it out so tight that there just wasn't enough to stick, and it will often appear to be stuck. But when you go to coat it, there wasn't enough adhesion and it lifts and you get a little blister like this picture here of the blisters on the ceiling. This was actually done by a contractor who tried to do his own work, and I know a lot of you try and do it, but you made some of these mistakes here and it just does not pass. So you want to make sure you get it right. Another thing that you might make a mistake with is if you put this mud on here, let's say, and you spread it out and you try and do too much and you come back and it started drying out a little bit. You don't want that. Dry spots are going to give you blisters. So avoid that one also. And tip number 7 would be using the wrong tape. And again, that'd be like using this with regular joint compound. The reason is that requires fast setting joint compound, or it's a lot more likely to crack and not stick as well. So you absolutely have to use fast setting joint compound with that. Okay, in today's video, I'm going to give you 8 tips that should really help you out when you're taping drywall. Plus, I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 different kinds of tape for drywall, because this is discussed a lot on YouTube, and I'm going to give you my recommendation. Number 1, mesh tape. I probably put on 500 rolls of this stuff because it has the advantage of being faster if you know how to work it. That's the main advantage. The second advantage is kind of this, and that is that it's self-sticking. So you put this on, you're a lot less likely to get blisters because it does kind of self-stick. But it also requires you to use fast-setting joint compound, and that can be a problem for a lot of you novices, so be careful with that. Hey, what kind of things are we going to teach at our Drywall Academy at drywallacademy.com? This is one of them. This will be a members-only video where I'm going to show you the different additives that people like to put in mud, as well as things like mixing hot mud and all-purpose. What happens if you wipe your tape too tight? What about if you have bleach? You have a little bit of soap in it, a lot of soap. What about Durabond, Easy Sand, and this Straight Flex crack tape? We're going to find out which one of these adheres well and which ones maybe fails. I'm going to teach you that at that drywallacademy.com. So head on over there, pick up my free ebook when you get there. And to get the free ebook, go to drywalltoolsbook.info and you'll get a free ebook, as well as be signed up to know when we release the courses coming out real soon. Am I the fastest drywall finisher alive? Well, maybe not. But if you want to learn how to up your game and get faster and do a better job at drywall repairs and finishing, be sure to subscribe to my channel, where I specialize in teaching you the details of how to do your own home improvement projects like drywall repairs. I go into more depth than some for those of you who are starting from nothing, and some of you who want the in-depth knowledge. I show you everything from basic drywall repairs to how to spray textures, do skip trowel textures, and much more. So if you want to learn these kind of things, be sure and subscribe to my channel and say hi, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, everybody. See you then. Hey, how would you like to add 100 horsepower or more to your truck in just a few minutes? I'm going to show you how I did that in this short clip, but I've got a long video if you want to see the whole thing on my channel. And in case you're wondering, I am launching in four-wheel drive with traction control off, although I don't think it makes much difference. There we go. All right, go. Stop. Actually spun the tires a little bit, taking off in four-wheel drive. That was definitely faster. Okay, class, come in and sit down. We're gonna teach you about the basics of electricity in a way that anybody can understand. So have a seat. Billy, Susie, both of you sit down. Quit playing over there. We're gonna cover this right after this. So here we have the garden hose. Now think about the amount of water going through here. When it's, let's say you turn the spigot on wide open, you've got nothing on the end to restrict it. It's running out full bore, right? But it often only goes out about 2 or 3 feet. But there's a lot of water going through there pretty quickly. The amount of water going through there, that's the current. So current is basically the amount of electricity flowing through a wire, or in this case, the amount of water. It really works really similar. Learning to look for the defects, that's part of level 5, because if you don't use that bright side lighting, you'll miss a lot of those. But once it's painted, gets a little bit shinier. The shinier you do, like if you do anything beyond flat, satin, eggshell, semi-gloss, it's going to show even more. And it depends on your lighting. Like if you put a wall sconce up here, suddenly you've got that harsh lighting going down the wall. If this is a ceiling and you mount a ceiling light close and it's shining down, you've got the same thing. That's why we get that bright light out and look for those defects, so that if a light does that naturally in the future, we already fixed it. Okay, I think there's a lot of confusion in this. Here's what I found. In over 40 years of doing this, I spent the last 20 years doing nothing but repairs. And in that time, I probably have repaired over 10,000 torn brown paper spots. There's been jobs where I've repaired over 500 on one job. About every foot there was a torn brown paper spot. So I had them coat the whole ceiling with 2 coats of this product I've recommended called Pro 99, also RX 35. So anyway, they put 2 coats on it, and out of 500 torn spots, not one of them bubbled that I can remember. I found that probably 20 to 30% of the spots is about all that will bubble. So why do we go to the trouble of treating it? So we found, most pros find that when you're doing very many of these, it's just better to treat it, and then you're going to have a much higher success rate. So if you're just doing this once in a while and you're not in a big hurry, yeah, you can go ahead and try and just mud it, and it might just work. Now that's also why a lot of you think that some of these products will work when they probably won't, because it's like this. If you only have a 20 to 30% failure rate, if you only fix these once in a while, and say you do 10 of these brown paper repairs a year, out of that you may have 0 failures even if you didn't treat it. Because of that low rate, you would only have 2 to 3, but that's not a guarantee. So the safe thing to say is that just because you treated it with something and it didn't bubble, that doesn't mean that it worked, because a lot of them won't bubble. Pull it up to the top here, get out the roller. Now for this, it takes a special roller. There's 2 different rollers. There's the big stick roller, and then there's the OS roller. So we'll use this one. Now you generally want to go up first so that you keep this tight, you don't pull it down. So That's about all you want to do. You don't want to try and smash all the mud out of it. All right, that's really good enough for this. Okay, so what we got is this Big Stick 300, which I'm going to show you a close-up here. This is really cool stuff. This is a really good product for high traffic areas, so like these verticals here, where especially in a stair, and by taping it on, I feel like it's a lot more secure. It's taped on all the way. There's mud on 100% of this. It's going to be stuck really well. We apply it with regular all-purpose joint compound, and we are going to be using the Mud Pro 2 down here, and it puts the mud on for us real quickly, so this really speeds it up. Then we're going to roll it with a special outside corner roller that squares it up, pushes the mud out. Then all we got to do is wipe it down and it's ready to go. Now, as far as this corner goes, what you want to do on these type of corners is you want to cut your corner bead like, so you want to cut your corner bead with this 45-degree angle going up and square on this inside part so it fits like so. And we do the opposite for over here. Okay, you can see in the close-up here, this has pre-printed like tape marks on it, just to give you a reference so you can mark it real easy. You can look at it and see where to cut it, and 45s go in both directions, so you don't have to guess that so much. You just follow one of these 45s and cut it to length the other way. Tip number 8 is, if you want this stuff to set up faster, use hot water. We're going to try that here in a minute. If it sets up in 20 minutes, I did a little batch with regular mud, just cold water, and then we did a little batch with the hot water. We'll see if it actually accelerates it, because it usually does. But beware, if you do that, you don't know how fast it's going to accelerate it, so it might bite you in the butt. Small area you need to texture. Can texture might work, but there's a proper method to using it, and I'm going to show that on an upcoming video, so be sure and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more. Tip number 3, hot mud is very unpredictable. And by that I mean the way hot mud sets up throughout the day can change dramatically. Every time you rinse off your tools, you mix up another batch, through the day it starts setting up weirder and weirder. And by that I mean it would do things like, suddenly I'd get a lump in there where the mud was totally smooth, but all of a sudden I got a big lump because it's hardening up in that section. Or I've had it where it started hardening up on one side of my pan and it was still fine on the other. The longer you use it, the more batches you use, the more unpredictable it gets. So there's my point. If you're going to go over a painted surface, hot mud doesn't always work that great. It may have to air dry, and if not, it's going to take a lot longer. Number 4, the number on the bag, it says Easy Sand 20. That doesn't mean it's going to set up in 20 minutes necessarily. That's more about your working time, because once it starts setting up, you can't really work with it anymore, and you should not. Number 1 on the list is hot mud should never be put on in thin coats. By thin, I mean really tight. Like if you were spotting nails and you put it on and wipe it off, that's a thin coat. Another way would be skim coating. If you're doing a tight skim coat, it's a bad idea, and I'll tell you why. The reason is, and this is per the manufacturer, when you put the hot mud on, let's say it's 20-minute hot mud, it actually needs 20 minutes to cure. It actually chemically cures. It's an exothermic chemical reaction that causes it to harden. And if you don't give it 20 minutes to cure, it doesn't form its bonding strength, therefore it doesn't stick as good. So basically, here's the rule. If it air dries before the time on the bag, if it air dries in 10 minutes and it's 20 minutes, it didn't properly cure. It won't have the bonding strength especially. Have you ever seen one of these skim coating blades? They're one of the handiest tools out there. Take a little mud, roll it on your surface, get one of these blades out, and smooth it out, baby smooth. Hey, did I tell you guys that we got robbed a year ago? We got hit for like $15,000 in losses. They took a bunch of my mechanics tools and a bunch of my construction tools. And then we installed Simply Safe. And honestly, I think it's a really good system. We haven't had any problems since, but we've got cameras, like 2 cameras outside, 1 in the office. We've got glass break sensors. We've got temperature sensors to make sure if the heater goes off, our pipes don't freeze. We've got water sensors by any water pipe areas in case they do leak or burst. We've got glass break sensors, door sensors. I mean, we're fully covered now. I don't think we're going to have any more problems. And they're not a sponsor of mine, but I do have a special offer for you. If you want up to 60% off, they say I can offer you this discount code and you'll get up to 60% off, and we get a Visa gift card for it if you sign up. Check out the link in the description down below, and thanks for your support. Hey, if you struggle when you're trying to spray drywall texture, struggle no more. I got a video out there that'll help you, and we're going to be teaching courses on my Drywall Academy at drywallacademy.com. But here's a little cheat sheet I put together. These are just a little laminated guide that will help you understand which variables, upside down, affect your spray pattern. And all you got to do is stick this in your pocket. It's pocket size, laminated, take it to the job or your house, wherever you're working. Pull it out and you'll get an idea how to get a different shape of texture by adjusting these variables. You can pick this up at that KiltedGuyStore.com. And watch how your subscribe button just now got animated. And if you click on it, it's going to do some more party tricks. So I'll see you on that next video. Hey, if you're tired of stud finders that just beep at everything, that's a sheet metal duct. Let's calibrate it. Beeping at that, you don't know what's there. Come over here to wood stud, it beeps the same. If you're tired of seeing the same old beeping for everything and you're wondering what's in the wall, maybe you need to toss out that old stud finder and get the Wallabot. This thing actually gives you a digital picture of what's in the wall. It's a lot more accurate than the beeping method, and we get right there and it says metal stud, so we know it's metal, and we get wooden stud. It'll even detect pipes, like the pipe right there. There's a copper pipe in the wall. Gives you a color representation and a visual representation. I'll put a link to this in the description down below. Hawk and trowel or pan and knife. It's an age-old debate among drywallers, and if you want to know which one you need to use, I'm going to give you a quick bit of advice, but go check out my new ebook called Understanding Drywall Tools and Materials. I'll put a link to it in the description. I go over all kinds of tools like what you see back here and the materials, and I simplify it for you. The bottom line is whichever one of these works best for you, use that style. Most drywallers, if they use a hawk and a trowel, they still use a pan and a knife sometime. So for you beginners and novices, I recommend a pan and a knife. I think it's simpler, less tools to buy, and you can get just as good a job if you know what you're doing. Hey, for more tips and tricks like this, be sure and subscribe to my channel. I have a new Drywall Academy, that Kilted Guy Drywall Academy, where I'm going to teach you all about drywall. You can check that out too at drywallacademy.com. Hey, if you're doing all your drywall mudding repairs with this knife, stop. You need to learn how to use these wider knives. If you're doing the floating, the coating, the taping, you're trying to do everything with these little knives because you've seen it on YouTube videos, stop and learn how to use these bigger knives. They're sizes like 10-inch, 12-inch, 14-inch, 8-inch. There's a lot more variety. If you want to learn more about which tool to use, check out my new book, Understanding Drywall Tools and Materials. I'll put a link to it in the description. But basically, this knife is great for a lot of things, but when you're going to coat something wider and you want to get it nice and flat, switch to a bigger knife. Go check out my book and you'll learn a lot more about tools and materials. Hey, for more tips and tricks like this, be sure and subscribe to my channel. I have a new Drywall Academy, that Kilted Guy Drywall Academy, where I'm going to teach you all about drywall. You can check that out at drywallacademy.com. Here's another one of my personal tools. You can see probably it's kind of dirty, scuffed up because I use this a lot. This is the DeWalt handy little screwdriver. Most of these things are weak and slow, not this one. Works a little bit differently though. You pull the trigger and when you turn your hand one way, it goes that direction, turn it the other, and it's gyroscopic, so the more you turn it, the faster it goes. It's powerful. It's got a click setting for how deep it'll drive stuff. It won't even break the plastic on an electrical box if you set it for the low setting. Handy little tool. Check it out in the links in the description down below. Hey, if you're trying to think of gift ideas for this holiday season, check this out. I got a few ideas for you. This is my personal tool. You can see it has paint on it. These things measure or detect studs in the wall, and they do it really well. Little LEDs light up anytime you pass over a stud, pipe, etc. It works really well. Or check this out. This is the Sigmund laser measure. This thing will measure up to 390 feet of distance, and it'll do it while you stand right in the middle of the room because it shoots a laser out both sides. You don't have to put it up against the wall or anything. It also measures the angles, all kinds of features on it. Check that one out. I'll put links to all this in the descriptions below this video.
Just really spread it out first. That gets all the air bubbles out. I like to do it while it's on the wall. It doesn't bother me too much. If I end up having too many air bubbles in the end, I just do a final coat at the end. It's not a big deal to me. So we just start off putting a lot of mud on the wall. So we know we have to come all the way out to here because we can see just how much the light was coming through. So just get a ton of mud on the wall, and then we will remove it in the middle. Oh, I'm restricted by my microphone. Oh no! And I know I don't really need to go higher than this mark here on the wall, but I will put a little bit of mud up to it still. And we're not going to be doing all the way up there on camera. I'll do that off camera because I need a ladder. I'm too short. So. And it looks like for the most part we're doing pretty well. Maybe there's probably a little bit more there. That's it. Right now it's just get the mud on the wall, take it off.
I'm going to show you how we're going to turn this bumpy textured wall into a totally smooth level 5 finish. Now, first of all, what do we mean by level 5? Well, basically it's a smooth finish, but there's actually kind of 2 levels of smooth. Level 4 would be where it's smooth, but it's not perfect. Basically, level 5 is as smooth as you can get it, where pretty much no defects of any kind shows, and that means humps, and that means nicks, dings, scratches. It's basically as smooth as you can get it. Okay, since we're using this for skim coating, to do this skim coating, what you would need to coat something this rough is a sand pole, a way of sanding it, and the blade, and then your pan and knives to put it on. So your basic mudding tools, and then of course we got this blade. Okay, our objective here is to get a level 5 finish, so it's probably going to take 2 coats. Now the first step is, because of all this bumpiness on here, you want to scrape it. There's always going to be some little peaks that'll make your knife jump and chatter, and you'll get the washboard look on here, and it'll just mess up what you're trying to do. So just get you a blade and scrape the whole thing first, and then we're going to sand it. Okay, now the next step is you want to sand it. You could probably get by without sanding it after you scrape it, but I found that doing these two together gives me an even better chance of knocking down those last little peaks that are sticking out. So I like to use an 80 grit on a sand pole. If you're a novice, there's a sander called a radius sander. So I can't show it to you today, but here's a picture of it. And this thing works great, because this one's a little harder to use for amateurs because of the fact that it sometimes will want to flip like that. The radius doesn't want to, so check that out in the description down below. Just go over it once real quick, knock down the final peaks, and then we're ready to move on. Okay, now normally on something like this, you're not going to have that much dust, so you probably don't need to dust it. You can if you want to, though. Okay, the next step would be to put a solid coat of mud on this and float it all out. Now I do like to, when I'm skim coating, I try and put the mud on fairly evenly to start, so I usually don't like to leave too much of this rough stuff. So if you see me go over it a couple times, I'm evening the mud out. See, right? So you'd basically roll it on with a paint roller and then smooth it out with something like this craft skimming blade. I'll put a link to all this stuff in the description down below if you want to check it out. And we do make a small commission on anything if you click on it and purchase it, and we thank you for your support. But it's more than all that. Once we've skimmed it all out and we've sanded it, it's still not done, and I'll show you why here in a little bit. There's one last step, kind of two. The other way you can do it is with this skimming blade, which I'm going to show you today. Because I've already showed you how to do it with a knife and a paint roller, so now we're going to show you the advantage of using this. So the one final step for a skim coating like this would be to sand it and then do minor touch-up. It doesn't have to be perfect, depends on what kind of texture you're putting. The heavier the texture, the less work you got to do, but we definitely want to get rid of that one. For this step, I have changed my sandpaper to a 220 grit because you don't want to leave those scratches like we did before. Make sure this is in good shape. If you got any little torn edges, wrinkles, anything like that, it will scratch right where that's at. You know, we were trying to mainly sand out this middle area. When you're sanding, you want to make sure that if you are using anything that's rectangular or even square, don't hold it straight like this. Hold it at an angle. Otherwise, those straight lines tend to dig in. And even if it's square, hold it a little bit of an angle. If it's round, it doesn't matter. But there's one more tip. Move up and down a little bit so that you're kind of feathering out your sanding, or you're going to kind of dig yourself a valley in here. So more like this. And that'll give you a lot better results. Hey, we're on a job today where somebody was working in the attic and they had a little mishap and stepped through the ceiling right here. So I'm going to show you how I go about bidding a job like this and help you understand it. And then if we get the contract, we'll show you how to do the repair too. Hey, if this is how you spend a lot of your winter at home, wrapped up in a blanket, wondering where all that cold air is coming in or where that heat is going out, I'm going to show you how to figure that out with a little device you can pick up, and you'll see right where it's going. You'll know how to solve the problem. We're living in an RV. We don't have a house right now. You can see all kinds of leakage. RVs are typically really inefficient, and this is a 2023. It's actually rated at R40 in the ceiling, I think it was 30 in the floor, and R9 in the walls, but they leak terribly around the slide outs. The windows are single pane. You can see that coming out of there really bad. So if you look at your house, you'll know places to put better weather stripping, to do some more caulking, maybe some more. Hey, if you're someone who likes to do your own repairs around the house, or you just occasionally dabble in drywall and just need to fix something now and then, just to do some basic mudding, I'm going to give you a couple quick recommendations on tools.